Let's start our recording. Hello and welcome to 10th grade parent night. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Daphne Adler and I'm one of the counselors here at Los Altos High School. So this is for parents of class of 2023. And I have with me tonight some of our counselors and the staff of our College Career Center. So we have myself and Ariel Rojas and Jacob Larin, Laura Duran, and Angela Price, and Ryan Carter is joining us as well from counseling. And we're going to share with you kind of a large amount of information. So please don't feel like you have to note everything down. This is going to be posted on the Los Altos Counseling website, and it is being recorded. So this will be available for you at a later time to look through more carefully. We've got some really good info, some links, and hopefully you will find this helpful as you guide your sophomores. Next slide, please. And for question and answers, you can use the Q&A box and we will do a big question answer at the end. So some of you might be wondering, what exactly does the counselor do? You are 10th grade parents, your students have been with us for 1 year, and last year was a rather unusual year. Fortunately, we did get to meet with most of the freshmen before the pandemic. But just to clarify what our role is for your students, we do really a lot of things. So in addition to course scheduling, we help your students overall with their high school academic planning each year, course selection, questions about courses, changes, etc. We help them throughout their 4 years in conjunction with the College Career Center, which you'll learn more about later, with their post-secondary options, whether that is 4-year college, 2-year college, or other options. So we want to make sure to support all students no matter what their plans are after they graduate. We help them with improving their study strategies and whatever that they need to be successful academically. We're there to support them for that. And then also social and emotional counseling, interpersonal skills, etc. So we're there kind of as a general support person. All right, and this is our new counseling model continuum of services. This was implemented this year. This is brand new, so a lot of new stuff this year. A lot of you have probably heard about this, these enhancements through our counseling newsletters and the district newsletters earlier in the year. And tonight I wanted to talk specifically about the 10th grade piece. And before I do that, just to give you a little backstory, these enhancements are the result of a district-wide multi-year effort, including a comprehensive study that was done, which included an evaluation of how we could improve our existing counseling services, this was a couple years back. Many of you and your students remember completing surveys if you had older students to help us gather feedback, and after a year of developing a proposal based on that feedback, as well as national counseling standards and best practices for school counseling, the school board, the MBLA school board, approved these enhancements last spring, and we are really excited to implement them this year, even in the middle of the pandemic and in distance learning. So that's kind of the bigger picture of what's happening in counseling. And I'm gonna give you a little bit more detail about how that applies to sophomores. Okay, so this is our sophomore timeline. And this is really rough. It's gonna be a little bit different for students depending on what they're doing and what their plans are. And you can look at this in more detail after the presentation if you wish. But it's essentially, it goes through the year, a number of things in September just to sort of, calibrate after the freshman year. They can update their resume in Naviance with summer activities. They should definitely be focusing on getting off to a good start in 10th grade, reviewing progress towards both graduation requirements and college requirements, continuing to develop their extracurricular interests, et cetera. Then going into October, continuing those things, building strong habits as the year has kicked in, looking into leadership opportunities if they're interested in that. And then towards the end of the first semester, and then into January, looking over those first semester grades, choosing classes for the following year, which we're about to start next week. And then later in the spring semester, starting to think forward a bit towards the college exploration process, continuing extracurricular activities, looking into the summer for activities, and towards the end of the year, they'll be attending a 10th grade group counseling workshop, which we're about to talk about. They can attend some college fairs, etc. So again, you can look at this more in detail. This is kind of a snapshot of what they should be doing roughly across the year. Okay, so sophomore workshop. So this is our new sophomore enhancement this year. And in the previous 10th grade appointments that we used to have, the format of those was more of an information exchange. Like we would kind of tell them a lot of stuff, which not that that wasn't useful, but through the research that was done and the feedback, we believe that this is going to be a much more interactive format and really much more beneficial for students. So instead of just kind of giving them a bunch of information, we're going to have them in small groups. And one of the benefits of that is that their counselors get to see them interact with each other, work together, collaborate, which is something that we don't normally get to see given that we're not in the classroom. And that's actually really helpful for us to get to know your students, and then looking ahead a little bit to letters of recommendation when they're applying to college. That's a great thing for us to be able to write about. So we're also looking forward to these and getting to know your students in a different way. We will still be sharing academic info with them, which we're going to go through with you tonight as well. Yeah, we're really excited for these, and they will be taking place later in the spring. Okay. So some academic information. So these are some action items for students to take throughout this semester. So reviewing their transcript and graduation status report, which we're going to show you in detail in a couple of minutes. In mid-March, the third quarter, which we just started, will finish up, and the quarter grades will come out at that time. So students should certainly be reviewing their grades. If they have a D or an F at that time, first of all, don't panic. It does not go on the transcript. Quarter grades don't go on the transcript, but it's an indicator of needing to make some changes in that fourth quarter so that they can pass their courses with at least a C- for college. And if it doesn't look like that's going to happen, then we would have a conversation about summer school, and that would be the time when some of that information would come out about applying for summer school around mid-March. They also should be working with their teachers for help throughout when they need it, and accessing any other support services on campus or outside of school, such as tutoring as needed. All right. So in a second, I'm going to introduce our next speaker, and he's going to go through a lot of detail with you, but this is sort of a brief introduction to SIS. Most of you hopefully have seen SIS and are familiar with how to navigate it. We're going to go through transcript and graduation status report info, and the way to access that is logging in as you normally do, and then on the navigation bar at the top, there's an option for grades, and you can select either transcript or graduation status report, excuse me. Just be aware that it looks a bit different. The view looks different than what we're about to show you, but the information is the same. So I'm now going to turn it over to Jacob Larin, and he is going to talk you through how to read all these letters and numbers. Thanks.
Good evening. Welcome, everybody. On behalf of the counseling department, just want to say really appreciate the time with you guys this evening. I know we're all busy with trying to keep a track of everything as we progress through this year. So thanks for taking the time with us. Hopefully this is good information for you guys. So I will try my best. These are fairly detailed documents to try to do a quick overview of these, the information, and kind of talk about what it feels like, what it looks like to go through these kind of counseling meetings, and what forms and information you're going to be able to look at as we go through this. I guess before I go into specific details, this is an ongoing process. It is a journey that we take for the 4 years with you and your student to try to really track how they're doing and try to really guide them throughout every step, and successes and challenges that they face throughout high school. So we're really about really giving as much opportunity and access to all students. And so these are just kind of the paperwork and the process we go through. So I want to make sure that we kind of talk about that in the long term. But in terms of specifics, let's go into the transcript and let's talk a little bit about this. So this is a legal document. It's something you can refer to, all right, throughout your students' academic history here at Los Altos. Some basics on what to look for and what it looks like from this slide is there's some key notes here. The P, when you look at that college, the high school transcript means that it's a college prep course that is denoted for both the CSU and UC. And so that is easily seen there on the left in that column. The plus is an honors or AP course, which is given an extra point. I don't want to get into too much detail about what does or does not count, and that it goes into the admissions process, which is a little different, but it's noted, at least for our system in our high school, where those points are given. And then we have the asterisk, which is for non-core curriculum courses. Example here would be PE. Okay, so let me move on here. Great. So we have quite a few GPAs on our campus and transcripts. And so, what I'd like to say is that this is the way in which we measure and record academic progress at our school. The details of how that's evaluated when it comes to universities outside of our campus is very separate and can be very different depending on the institution. So we use this as kind of our benchmark, a general guide to how students are succeeding. And we really try to make sure we're able to track that and make sure we're seeing if they're succeeding or not. We really don't get into how specific universities, especially some of those out of state or private, are going to be looking at this because they have such a wide variety of ways to evaluate. Okay, so we have both the weighted and non-weighted here represented. And then I would like to just kind of point out for this slide, when it comes to those last two bullet points, you can kind of get a general sense through the 9th through 12th academic GPA, right? What some of those private colleges are going to be looking at for GPA. And that's a general kind of target. And then the 10th through 12th academic GPA is more of an accurate GPA for the UC and CSU. And that's just the way in which those institutions internally review those grades to come up with their GPA as they look at admissions for their campuses. Okay. So here we have an example of a grad status report, another document you could look at and refer to as we go through 4 years of high school. We typically present them out as in columns. So we have A, B, C, D. And the way I would look at it is from left to right. It is what is needed to be completed, okay? Kind of like the general goal of completion for 4 years. And as we go from right to left, it is what has been done, okay, under B, okay? What is currently being worked on under C, and then D is what's left to be finished off, right? So a nice way to get a kind of a snapshot of what's actually happening for your student, where they lie. And obviously, before we start looking at these documents and wondering about where the numbers are, right? Freshman and sophomore year, there should be some numbers in bold under the D column, correct? We still have some years to go, and so we don't need to worry about that. We find out any concerns or questions with the counselor when you have our meetings, and we can review where we're at in that first, second, third, fourth year. But that will be changing and progressing as we go through. So it's a nice way to kind of get a sense of where your student lies in whatever year they're at, okay? For the graduation requirements, okay, so this is a snapshot, right? And again, you can refer to this in a variety of locations on our website of what we expect students to be able to complete in order to graduate from our school. And so the nice thing, and I will get to this in a few slides, is that it aligns very closely to some of our college graduation, college admissions requirements. And so there's only a few differences with that. So your student getting through these requirements is already quite far down the path to looking at university or college admissions. And so 10 credits usually equals a year. So up at first example, you see English, 40 credits means 4 years, right? 1 year, right? Every year you're in high school, they'll be taking an English course, and you can kind of break down these subject requirements when you look at those numbers. Okay, one thing I do tend to like to talk about a little bit at the bottom there, it sometimes raises some eyebrows and concerns for parents, is that 60 credits. Let's just remember, when you have any of these other subject requirements, I'll take math with 20 credits, and you've gone above and beyond those 2 years, those 20 credits of math, those extra courses in any of these other subjects, as in math, will then dump down into electives. So that's one that I tend to get some questions about from parents. And just to know, don't worry, as long as students are taking their 6 to 7 courses, right, passing them and moving forward every year, we get much beyond the total of 220 credits you need to have and graduate from Los Altos. So we have many students that go way above that 220 as they complete their education. So next slide, this is another kind of a example, something you could look at and get a sense of what you're going to be expecting as you go through our meetings and talk to the counselors and how we check in on academics. Our 4-year plan, this is really a nice form that we use to see how students are doing, tracking what they're currently taking, right? And going beyond that and talking about what we will be taking in the next year or two. And again, getting back to kind of how I started this segment of the presentation, always lockstep with how students are doing in that particular year. We can adjust this. We can look at remediation if that's important. Maybe we go from one area of focus in academics to another because your student has decided he wants to, or she wants to change academic priorities and what they might want to do in the future. So this is something we'll be referring back to over and over again to make sure we have it right and that we're all on the same page. And with that comes the point about having it then downloaded and saved on the Google Drive so we can all have access to it and we can continually go back to it as a reference point. So we talked a little bit about the process of course selection, which is coming up. And this slide really is just a set of bullet points and kind of themes that we want to be able to think about as we are deciding what's next and what's our next step as a sophomore going into junior year. And that has a little bit to do with how your student is doing. It has a little bit to do with getting some information from staff and teachers who had experience in not only the current class that your student is in, but also what they might be advised to take for the following year, what they've been really strong at, what maybe they need to improve on. And so we get some of that teacher input, which is critical. We also need to think about the student and what they're passionate about, what they'd like to continue to learn more about. And again, I like to kind of actually do this last is then have a balance, have a sense of getting some academic goals and some success, but also having time for other things, having time to do the athletics or leadership or another hobby that maybe has nothing to do with something you put on a resume, but create some space for them to enjoy the 4 years and not worry about checking things off so much and really feeling like they're succeeding in all parts of their life. And that also includes, I want to make sure I get this in at the end, is also getting in that time for sleep, that time to be active and be healthy. And so these are kind of the themes that we look at as a department when we start talking about what makes a good fit for a student as they go on to their next year. Quickly also, as a sophomore going into junior and senior year in this transition, there's also another piece that we could talk a little bit about and making sure that we know about our opportunities on site and then also off site at our high school. And these are some alternative programs that are offered for juniors and seniors, okay, that have a variety of focuses. Okay, so we can kind of look at these bullet points, and I don't necessarily want to go into detail about each of these, but I would like to, and if a counselor wants to add to this, kind of give a kind of a profile, get a sense of what the intent of this program is and what kind of students fit this and really enjoy these experiences. So I start with freestyle. As you can see there, visual and computer focused program that is very intensive, project based. Where students are half the time on our site and then half the time at the freestyle site. It's students who are very into the animation, the design, or the film production, get to delve into those areas and really and explore it. I've heard from students though too that it is a time-consuming process, and that you need to kind of be able to think about being able to balance that freestyle, right, experience with the other courses they're still going to have to take at our site, and seeing what fits and what doesn't. But really a great opportunity for students. Second option, Foothill Middle College. Okay, so off campus, it is a cohort model where there's some core courses that all students within that program take at Foothill, but then they're also able to take elective courses and really explore the community college environment. And I would typically say a student that really likes this experience, and we've seen has had success in the past, the student maybe is kind of done with kind of the high school culture, really wants to get into kind of a college environment, ready to move on and be a little bit more independent, more accountable to themselves. Really outstanding program for those students. And then College Now, that I would say even is another level of independence, in that the cohort model that we have for Foothill Middle College is no longer in place. They're taking everything through the community college. They have to navigate that with a central person. You have the contact there on the slide, but it's kind of another level to really kind of doing things on their own and keeping a track with some guidance, but really a little bit more than what we say with middle college. Okay. And then our next slide then goes into the university requirements and what the UCCSU asked for in terms of, at least in the bold here, the minimum requirements. We have some recommended on there for subjects, but this is a statewide set of courses that both the UC and CSU expect of students to be able to show mastery and be able to then progress and then apply to these institutions. Again, depending on the list of campuses we're talking about and the conversations with the counselor, we will discuss what opportunities are out there for your student, how their progress is going, not just for high school graduation, but for the college process. And so we're going to keep on checking in on these requirements as well as we go through these meetings. And then to go along with that prior slide, this is now what form we also use to track our college and university progress in terms of when we're going to apply and getting ready for that. And that's our A through G checklist, which is basically a working document to kind of check off the requirements prior that I just talked about, seeing how much they've been able to get through, what they need to still work on. Also coming back into discussion about passions and focuses for students, where they're going to find those areas that they really want to delve into. And I know where we can explore that at Los Altos. And so just something that we can keep a track of things and make sure that they're progressing in what they like to get into. Again, also on the Google Drive, so something we can always get back to and have a reference point. Okay, so I know that was a lot of documents and a lot of information, but hopefully that was useful to kind of see what's coming for you guys. And so thank you again for the time, and I'm going to hand it over to Ms. Price.
Hi, good afternoon, parents. I'm glad to join the counselors tonight. My name is Angela Price, and I'm your college advisor. I've been at Los Altos for the last 3 years, and I work closely with Laura Duran, who is our College and Career Center coordinator. Laura and I both are charged with the duty of supporting all Los Altos High School students as they move on to prepare for college applications during their junior and senior years. So glad to be here tonight and hope the information that we share with you will be helpful. I wanted to talk a little bit about college admission testing because that's something that parents and students are very much concerned about right now. And I think that, it's important that parents understand that students are going to have to check this year as they did last year, and we will check as well to find out which colleges are requiring which test. So you're going to always have to check the requirements. It's not etched in stone this year. What they did last year was an adjustment to the COVID pandemic. We hope that it continues because we do not believe testing is a good way for colleges to evaluate students' academic abilities. But it's a necessary evil if college is still going to be requiring it. So we're going to have to check each college to find out what their requirements are. There's a growing number of colleges that are already test optional. They've decided that testing tells them nothing about the students. And so they have made it a very a requirement that they do no longer consider in the college process. And there are a lot of colleges like that. And your students will be able to hear about those colleges from Laura and I both as they move towards getting closer to the 11th grade year and deciding on which college they think they might want to apply to. There'll be some colleges that will require, ACT and SAT. I think there will still be some hanger-ons, but again, we will find that out as we get closer to the time when your student will be taking those tests and will be thinking about which colleges they will be applying to. So you will have to do some research on College Board website and the ACT.org website. There are comparison charts on the websites about an SAT score and how it reflects on the ACT score. I think that, they're very different tests, but they're supposed to test the same types of things, although the ACT is the only test that's been directly related to what you learn in high school. So I think that the thing about testing is that what we want you to carry away is that it is just one aspect of the college process. It will never be the definitive decision that a college will say a student will be admitted because of testing or not. So it's only one piece of that. All the information that you've been hearing from the counselors about academics, about getting interested in things outside of school, those are the things that's going to really make a difference when it comes to college admissions for your student. We know now that subject tests have been eliminated by College Board. We're still hearing that information about how colleges are going to process that. We know College Board has said they're not giving the test, but we haven't heard how colleges have decided whether they're going to require kids to do something different or not. So we're pretty much in flux about testing still right now, but I believe the sooner we get through the spring, closer to admission decisions for this year coming out in April, we will know more about the testing for colleges coming up in the fall. The PSAT so far, it looks like they're going to be having that for juniors this year. And I think that's okay, because I think that a lot of information on the PSAT, a lot of sophomores haven't even been introduced to that information yet. So it's perfectly okay if your student do not take a PSAT this year, if we're able to give it to our juniors. So. And summer activities, I think that this is where kids can really show their interest. In the past few years, I've worked really hard with students trying to make sure that they understand that you don't have to have a Stanford research in order to be competitive for a college that you might want 2 years from now. You should really follow your interests. And sometimes that might be, at a university taking a class. Sometimes it might be going down the street and volunteering at a nursing home. So I think with this year, because volunteering took a different approach, because kids could not, have one-on-one relationships with people to help out, but there were many, many opportunities. And Laura on the College Career Center website had a host of opportunities that will be available to students. And I would definitely, ask that your sophomores go to the CCC website and look at some of those opportunities, understanding that it is going to be so individual what a student chooses to do based on their interests. There is no formula. I can't tell you if you took a class at UC Berkeley and you took research at Stanford, that you're going to get into Stanford or UC Berkeley. That's not going to happen. So you should follow whatever interest you have, and whether that might be helping your neighbor down the street or, cooking dinner for your grandmother. All of these activities give the college admissions officers an insight into who you are. You may work part-time. Some students may work full-time because their families require that of them. That is extremely important. Colleges look at students being responsible and sort of coming to the moment of a situation. And so if you have to have a part-time job because you need to support your family, that's important too. Internships that you get based on your interests are wonderful to achieve. And do pursue those if that is your interest. Camp, if you want to go to summer camp, if you just want to have a bit of fun, that is okay too. So I want you parents to understand that whatever your student chooses to do outside of academics could be something that gives the college a little bit more about who they are outside of academics. That's why students should follow whatever interest they may have. And there is no set formula. Just do what feels good, do what feels right, and do things that you're interested in. That's the most important thing when it comes to some activities. And do, look at the College Career Center website, because Mr. Rand will have so many opportunities on there for students. And you can also, students can come into my walk-in time. I don't turn sophomores away if they have a quick question that they want to answer. And my walk-in time is on the College Career Center website as well. You can go into my Zoom that way. And I'm there from 12 to 1 every day, Monday through Thursday. If I was on campus, sophomores will come into my office, so it's okay if you come in and ask me a quick question. So I hope that's been helpful, and I look forward to talking to your students a little later at the end of the year or sometime in the junior year. Laura?
All right, thank you, Ms. Price. Yeah. So I'm going to give you some information just about the College and Career Center and some of the resources that we have available. We set up over 120 college rep visits this past fall, and we're going to start with some of those again in the spring, including some free college fairs that are going to be available through NACAC and WACAC, which are professional organizations. So you'll see more on that at the end of January. We've been hosting workshop Wednesdays. So every Wednesday with a regular schedule, we have an hour-long workshop on various topics. In the fall, it was a lot about college. And then this spring, we're going to be focusing more on career and career exploration. And so definitely encourage your student to attend the workshop Wednesdays at noon on weeks without a modified schedule. I have been sending emails to students through Naviance, and I've also been sending out the College and Career Connection newsletter. So I hope your students and you are able to read through those. I'm trying to really send information that I think would be interesting or useful to you and your students. We also have a YouTube channel where we are posting recordings from those workshop Wednesday sessions and these evening presentations. We also had visits with different college representatives in the fall. Those are on the YouTube channel. So if you'd like to go back and look at those, you're more than welcome to. We also host a Facebook and an Instagram social media pages. So you can follow us on Facebook or Instagram or both for up-to-date information. And under the College and Career Center website, like Ms. Price had mentioned, we do have a ton of resources. Because we can't be in person with students, we've been trying to move that information onto the College and Career Center website. So please go there, spend 10 minutes just looking around and becoming familiar with what's available on that website. And then under the events tab, that's where you or your student can see what we're hosting, find our drop-in hour links. And then of course, you can always send us an email if you have questions or you want to schedule a one-to-one to help with anything that you might have a question about. Thank you. All right, so the big thing that we would love for you to know exists is Naviance, and this is a tool that your student can start using now. And what they can use in Naviance is updating their activities and adding to their resume. There's also a section now under self-discovery, and there are several assessments that they can take. Do What You Are, Career Cluster Profiler, Strengths Explorer, and those are ready for them now. It can help them start thinking what they might want to do after high school for a career, start thinking about what a major might be, and then what a college, but in a very low pressure, low stakes setting for now as 10th graders. So just something that they can start doing. And then if they do want to start taking a peek at some colleges, they can do that under Advanced College Search. And that's also on Naviance. This fall, we were able to get single sign-on activated. So your students should be able to click on the Naviance link, use their MVLA email address to access the single sign-on without needing a new password reset. But if there are any issues, you can contact me. I can also activate parent accounts if you send me an email and I can get those going for you. And then lastly, we just want to be a welcoming place for students to know that they can come and get information or have a conversation that is specific to them. So whether it's research and information about college, or they want to think about joining a college visit, now the colleges have done so much that's available online and virtually on individual college websites, including 360 virtual tours. So your student can take a virtual tour of a campus from home right now. And then, as Ms. Price mentioned, just quite a few different volunteering websites are linked there. We're posting what jobs are hiring in the local area. And then in 11th grade, they'll be able to schedule an appointment with Ms. Price to talk about their individual college list. And that's it for me, and I will pass it off to Mr. Rojas.
Mr. Rojas, you're muted.
There we go. Sorry. Thank you, Laura. That's one of the things that happen now with Zoom and everything like that. I never know when I'm not able to talk, which is a good thing for me. But this topic right now is probably one of the topics that concerns me the most. Not only for our personal life and for the parents' life, but the students' life. As you know, it is extremely important to have balance, to make sure that, you know, you're looking at your academics and everything else you do on a daily basis, and make sure that you're not overloading yourself with a lot of stuff through the day. I mean, I always talk to students, and I really admire the capacity of our students to take extra classes, to do all wonderful things. And very often I'm very in awe of all of the stuff that they can do. Through the 11th grade interviews, I found out so many things about my students and that I didn't know about. And so it's exciting to know your students in that way. It's exciting to know that many of our students are balancing their lives. But at the same time, you know, it's also worrisome when you hear a lot of students talk about how much they have in their day. I think that one of the big questions right now with COVID and staying home orders and stuff like that was that, you know, now I'm home and I'm able to just, you know, do a lot of more things because I don't have to, you know, go out or what have you. And students tend to want to take a lot more classes and stuff like that. But the idea is that it keeps them doing the exact same thing, you know, for a whole day they go to school and then in the afternoons they take other stuff. And it is important for students to have those kind of experiences, but we want to look at our day and we want to make sure that we have time for a lot of stuff. Family and friends are super important. We want our students to have that kind of healthy living where they spend time with their family and they just have some downtime to hang out with friends. I think students really want to keep an eye on the big picture in mind. You know, they want to, you want them to do things like, you know, start writing ideas from the get-go. Like now in 10th grade, it's important to see students, you know, starting to think about, you know, what am I going to be doing in the next couple of years, and starting like building that kind of resume of, you know, one, like, you know, of the things that they're doing, but also of the things that they want to do. Also, you know, you want them to maximize their strengths and and follow their passions. So, you know, a lot of times students in the summer, you know, they take extra classes maybe to build GPAs and stuff like that, which is fine. And I want students to have the opportunity to take college classes as well. But also there's things like, you know, experiences that you have outside, maybe internships that you can take, maybe, you know, taking experiences through other, you know, to camps and stuff like that. You know, time is super important, you know, and so you wanna incorporate that, and you wanna incorporate the downtime. It is important for kids to be kids and to have a Saturday morning where they can just do nothing or do whatever they want because they have worked so hard. I've never seen a group of students as, you know, solid like I see at Los Altos. Is, you know, I'm biased because I love my kids. They're the best to me, but they are actually really good, and the things that they do, it's amazing. So I want them to keep that balance. There is a tool that I want you to keep in mind when you have this presentation available. I want you to look at the time management tool. You can use it to try to kind of find balance to your students' day. It's really, really important. So I want to recommend that. So, you know, we have, our school is very committed to students' health and especially in the mental health part. We do have a 6 to 12 week one-on-one telehealth therapeutic support. We also facilitate referrals to outside providers when possible, group support when possible. The educational related mental health services will continue via telehealth as indicated on the student's educational plan. And we will not be offering crisis intervention during distance learning. But there is on our website, if you go to students, if you go to the Los Altos website and you go to student services, there is a whole page dedicated to mental health and wellness. You can find a lot of this information there. So you can like go in and use it as reference. Let's go to the next. So this is, we do have a referral process, and it's really important to kind of follow the process to make sure that the students get seen by a professional whenever they need to. Number one, the first part of the process is that the staff, community members, students, etc., can submit a referral via student support referral form. So back again to the main Los Altos website for right now, since we're online, you can go back into the student services under mental health, and you're gonna see a link to the referral form that you can fill out and submit it directly to the person. It's in English and Spanish as well. The referral will go through an intake coordinator. The intake coordinator will check in with the student and decide if school-based therapy is appropriate. If so, student will be paired with a CHAC intern counselor. If not, the intake coordinator will share outside resources with the family. So it is really important that if you're concerned about a student, or your student is concerned about a friend, to go ahead and submit a referral, and so we can take a look at, and also make sure that you're communicating. But there's also, if you feel like there's an emergency and stuff like that, you have to follow the guidelines of calling 911 and stuff like that. So these are the campus support resources. Our counseling office has 7 counselors who meet with each student. They're all the 4 years. So we definitely work with all of our students for 4 years. The tutorial center and writing center, we have peer and adult tutors available. I cannot encourage enough students to go and get the help from the tutorial center. It is really important if you feel that your student is not doing well, if you feel that your student needs help in any subject area, please look at the tutorial center. There is a different set of guidelines for the online system right now, since we're not in our school, but it's very easy. And also you can find that information on our Los Altos High School website. You can find all the information and the steps on how to get a tutor. The College and Career Center, again, I cannot say enough about the ladies. Laura and Angela are amazing. Please reach out to them. There's a lot in the College and Career Center. Your students really can benefit from. CHAC Community Health Awareness Council. We do have counselors available to help their students, as I said it before. And we also do have Spanish translation. Maria Ernie is the bilingual community liaison for the English learner support students. So with that is the end of our presentation. My last theme that I wanted to share with you is that we do have a survey. We would like for you to give us your feedback. You can copy the bit.ly right now. It's on the page. If you want to copy it down and do it today, if you have the time. If not, in a couple of days when we have our presentation on the counseling website, you can take it from there. And we're gonna take some questions. I know that, that there were some questions on the Q&A that we didn't answer, but we're gonna try to answer as many of those as we can, because they were a little bit longer. So Ms. Adler is gonna help out with that, and then we'll tackle it together. It's been great talking to you today. It's, I miss seeing the parents. There's nothing like being at school and meeting you all and seeing the students, and we're hoping that sometime soon in the future we can see each other and we can say hello. So Ms. Adler.
Yes, thank you. That was great. That was a lot of information. Okay, so we have a lot of questions. So we'll get through as many of these as we can. Let's see, if a student wants to take a summer course at Foothill, how do we know which course at Foothill can be transferred to LAHS transcript and get GPA credits? Which course is no credit? Does the student need to get LAHS counselors pre-approval to register to Foothill for a summer course? Yes, that comes up a lot. I can actually take that one. So students are allowed to take outside coursework. Be aware that wherever a student takes coursework outside of the district, there's a 40 credit maximum over the course of high school. And with community college classes, the credits are doubled, or I should say the college units that you get are doubled to credits. So just be aware of that. So the answer to this question is, if your student is interested in a course at Foothill, they should really come and talk to their counselor before they do anything else, because we will check. There's a list of community college courses that are transferable, and so we can help them locate that and make sure that the course that they're interested in will transfer. So if they're taking something outside of Los Altos, they always need to come and talk with us, no matter where it is, because what we don't want to happen is for a student to go and take something somewhere thinking that it's going to count for whatever they think in their mind it's going to count for, and then they come back with a transcript and we say, oh, this one's not UC approved. So we always want to have that conversation first before the student spends their money, time, energy, etc. So stop number one is counselor, and we can tell them if it's going to transfer or not. And then secondly, there is paperwork. We have an MVLA out of district permission form, which is located on the counseling website. And there would be a Foothill dual enrollment form as well. So 2 forms in the case of community college.
All right, so I can take that. I can do the next question if you like me to.
Sure.
So when the second question was, when failed classes are repeated and passed, how is the failure and the consequence of passing a class factor into the GPA? This is a kind of like a longer answer, and you know, the first thing that I will say is for you or your student to talk to the counselors about it and figure out how that goes. But it's pretty much when students take a class that they haven't passed during summer school or summer school, the class will go into the transcript. The new grade will be the one that's going to go into the GPA. The old grade will be zeroed out. It will stay on the transcript. So you got to make sure that you understand that you know, the grade actually will stay on the transcript, but it's not going to mean anything in terms of the GPA. What goes into the GPA is the new class that they retook. But in order for that to happen, they have to take the class within our district. So that will be the answer for that.
Okay, next question. Let's see, can you please say more about how students go through the decisions, which 3 off-campus programs they should consider? Who would like to take that one? Anyone?
More than, so just making sure I heard that right. When you're thinking about the 3 programs, how to kind of decide between them, is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, can you say more about how students go through the decision of which of the 3 off-campus programs they should consider?
You know, I think maybe I was really brief about the description of each of them. There's a lot of programs to talk about at once, but basically, you know, kind of where these interests lie for each student. If they're into the visual arts, into the 3 focuses of freestyle, obviously that's a great match and an opportunity to show off those passions. You know, what I try to describe for middle college, and I don't know if any of the other counselors want to add to this, you know, the students that I've had that have participated in it and really gotten a lot out of it were students that were really kind of done with kind of, you know, how would the kids like kind of cliques or kind of the traditional high school environment of like, you know, I gotta act this way, I gotta feel like this, which is part of being a teenager no matter what. But there's certain students that maybe are a little more mature than their age and are kind of like, you know what, I know what I want to do. I want to start my academic life in a college setting, and I want to move past this. And so that for me and the students I've worked with has been a successful match. And so that was how I would kind of describe middle college. And then college now, the main difference structurally is that, right, you're kind of in a smaller group with middle college as it's defined. It's kind of the way it's structured. And so you have 2 classes, usually English and social studies, while in middle college. And then you go from your bubble, your group of students that you kind of have as a cohort, you kind of graduate, you go through the process together, and you kind of have a smaller community out into the larger foothill environment. The college now is very much, they're on their own with guidance from their main coordinator, and there's not that sense of connectivity. So that's why I kind of said a little bit more independent, a little bit more able to kind of do what they want and decide what kind of an academic focus they have. And that's how I would define kind of those 3 programs. I don't know if anyone else wants to add their experiences, but that's kind of how I advise with my students.
Yeah, I can give so for me, one of the most important things about students choosing a program off campus, it's about where they are at in what a lot of the interests. Like, for example, if they wanted to do freestyle, you know, are there students that have an interest in the classes that they offer. So a lot of it starts with the conversations between the counselor and the student, and finding out, you know, where you're, you know, how you want to build your pathway through high school and what works for you. And so a lot of it, it's more of a conversation and depending on the students' needs and what the students want to do. So that's one of the ways I look at it.
Can I add just one more thing to that?
Sure.
Hi, everybody. So we have links to all 3 of those programs in the course selection section of the LAHS counseling website. That's a great place to go to learn more about all of them. And I should also mention that there are links to information about when those programs are having their open houses. I know that Middle College and College Now are going to have their student info session on February 24th. They're going to offer a morning session and an afternoon session. And then they're also having student and parent open houses in early March as well. So if you check out that the course selection section of the website, you'll find a lot of good info and learn about how to link to that info.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next question. Can a student request a specific counselor if they click with that person? No, unfortunately not. It's all done by Alpha. There's really just no way to do that in an equitable way. So they're assigned by the first letter of their last name. And if you are not sure who your student's counselor is or where to find that, you would log into SIS and it will be located there in your student information. All right. There's a question about getting help in Spanish. Absolutely. We have a number of staff in the counseling office that can translate and answer questions in Spanish, and you can connect with Mr. Rojas or Mr. Lenin and go from there.
And I can also say, can I say something about that as well? You can also, we also have these meetings in Spanish. So para los padres de familia que están en español ahora mismo, tenemos las reuniones de lucha. Esta reunión la tuvimos la semana pasada. So si quieren, pueden atender a las reuniones mensualmente y se pueden comunicar con María Ernie. Thank you.
Great. Okay. Next question. When will students have an opportunity to register for the summer course? I'm not sure if that means summer school with us or an outside course. If it's for summer school, information and applications are generally available in mid-March. So we don't have details just yet, but that comes out in mid-March. So keep an eye out for announcements through counseling, through Words from Win, through the daily announcements, all the usual channels that will come out. And then if a student's interested in summer coursework on their own at an outside institution, they just need to come and talk to their counselor, in the springtime before they register. Are all sophomores being scheduled for a counseling appointment? So this is what we talked about in the beginning, where we've shifted our model a bit. So instead of the individual appointments where we were kind of just giving a lot of information, we've switched to the small group setting. So students are still going to get a lot of information, but they're going to be interacting with their counselor in a small group in a different way. And then junior and senior year, we will have individual appointments again, as we did in freshman year.
Yeah, and I want to comment something about that too, because I am super excited about what we're doing with with the sophomore this year. It's going to be pretty amazing to have the groups, the small groups with the kids. They can get to know other students, and they're going to get a lot of the information. We have done, the counseling department has done an amazing job of getting putting together what we're going to be doing with the sophomores. And also, if your students, I don't think we mentioned it before, but remember that we do have office hours, and we want our students to come and see us Monday, Tuesday, Thursdays, and Fridays. And we have the links on the website so they can talk to us whenever they want during those times.
Super, thank you. Let's see, will students be getting a presentation on choosing 11th grade classes? Yes, all students will be getting a whole slew of information next week about course selection. There's going to be a schedule of academic videos. There's going to be designated extra counseling drop-in times. So yes, there's a lot of information coming. All right. Oh, Ms. Pasalo, who's one of our assistant principals, chimed in about GPA. So if you take a class to replace a class with a low grade, right, this is a good point to make. If you take the class in our district, the new higher grade will replace a previous class and be used in the GPA if it was the exact same class. So if you failed Algebra 2 honors but retook Algebra 2 in summer school, that is not the case because it's not the identical class. But if a student makes up the same class within our district, then that would be the case. If a student takes it outside of the district, the grades are averaged, and that's the same as if they failed honors and retook regular, same thing. They would just both stay in the GPA and on the transcript and essentially be averaged into the GPA. Thanks, Ms. Pasala. Let's see, do all courses taken at middle college and college now earn a weighted GPA at LAHS? Yes. How do you form the small groups for sophomores by last name? Yeah, it's going to be within each counselor's alpha sorts. We'll be with our own students. Okay, can students still take health class this summer at Mountain View Adult School, or do they have to take the class in junior year? Does anyone want to take that?
Are you on the?
Yeah, go ahead.
For the health class?
Yeah.
So what right now we're working on summer school plans, but normally juniors and seniors have the priority to take health classes, and we want to make sure that our kids that have not taken the health class have the opportunity to take it this summer. There's usually 3 sessions of health during the summer, and students can apply to take one of those sessions. It doesn't necessarily mean that if they just want session 1, they can get that. They will have an opportunity to get either of the 3 sessions, but we will have all that information coming up in the next couple of months on how to register and all that stuff as we're building the summer school plan. So far, normally what the students do for health is that they take the class at adult education. Last year, we took it all online. There's possibilities of something like that this year, but we haven't decided yet exactly how it's going to be done.
Great, thank you. And then related question, if there isn't enough room for a rising junior to take health this summer, filled up last summer and they prioritized older students, can they take health somewhere else besides MVLA?
So normally we want our students to take health with us. You can have that conversation with your counselor depending on what the situation is. So I start with your counselors. I think that last year the health situation was a little bit different just because it was the beginning of the pandemic and we were in a very different situation. This year we're looking at making sure that all of our students that need to take the health, at least in the upper grades, 11th and 12th grade, have that opportunity.
Great, thank you. Is there an opportunity for students to talk to upperclassmen about courses prior to course selection? Mr. Lenine, can you take that?
Yeah, no problem. I actually been in conversation for a variety of other services. We're trying to help out with this course selection. And there are a variety of panels that they're trying to do around this and talking about kind of exactly what we've already discussed, balance, advice about advanced courses and all the other opportunities they have for their next year. And I know SCL, which is one of our leadership organizations, is spearheading that. So the announcements will come out and there'll be links in terms of getting the student perspective around what is recommended from older students for those who are about to go into the junior year.
Super, thank you. All right, what is the impact to UC CSU if you do not pass AP class? I think they mean exam, but get a good grade, A/B, no credit, but you get extra GPA credit. And Ms. Price was going to take this one.
So with the AP class, if you don't pass the exam, that's just for college credit. Some colleges will give credit for it, some will not. But colleges are mostly interested in the grade you get in the classroom. And they will give you, the GPA bump is for the grade in class, not for the test. The test will grant you college credit down the line. But in terms of admissions, the colleges will look at the grade you get in that classroom, A or B, and you will get that bump from the UCs and the CSUs for that GPA.
Super, thank you. Let's see. Fall semester was the first graded fully virtual term. How much worse are the results compared to what a year or two ago? Are there any plans to work with teachers in order to adjust, improve instruction? We don't have that information right now and wouldn't be able to share that per se with parents. I can tell you that everyone is working so hard to make this work, and everyone would rather be at school, but every stakeholder here is trying their absolute best to make this work for all students. So I would say that if your student is struggling, please do work closely with your teachers. Do contact the counselor and we'll help in any way that we can. And just the last thing to add there is be aware that this is the case everywhere, and colleges know that. Colleges are really very aware that, if there's a student who was otherwise doing just fine, and then there was this weird anomaly this year, you're going to understand that that's pandemic related. And that's going to be happening everywhere across the country. Students will have an opportunity to explain circumstances and any other things that happened. So just be aware of that, but do communicate with teachers if you have concerns about specific classes or assignments.
All
right.
I wanted to add to that too. I mean,
yes,
just that I think the term, if you've been reading the national papers, the data that's coming out throughout the country with universities and institutions of higher education, flexibility is the buzzword, and we're all trying to get through this moment. It's been challenging on so many levels, and that the same can be said for schools looking at the high schools throughout the country and trying to help and support these young people through no fault of their own, right? What grade they're in and what year they graduate from high school. We want to make sure everyone with that sense of maybe a little bit of anxiety or stress about it, everyone's trying to do the right thing and trying to really see the student through the lens of these challenges and giving the benefit of the doubt. And as far as I can say, at our school site, the same conversations are happening with our staff and trying to be as understanding and lenient and trying to continually have those conversations around how we deal with students and trying to not penalize them, again, through no fault of their own.
Yeah, and with that, I want to add that, there's also a question about what we've learned about the college admission process, key takeaways that we had this year. And then Angela can chime in on this question and, the predictions of the future admissions. So I can say from my own, from my part is that what I learned about the admission process this year is that colleges and high schools and all of us are in the same boat. Everybody is in the same boat, and we are trying to get to help our students as much as we can. So colleges are being more flexible. They're making changes. They understand that students are home. They understand all of this, and I think that more and more understanding going around with testing and stuff like that. So my predictions for the future in terms of the next year, I think, you know, students are going to be looking back at this year. Colleges are going to be looking back at this year, and they're going to be more flexible with students. They're not going to, you know, they're going to understand their top priority is to make sure that students get through their colleges successfully. So, Angela, what do you think?
Well, I think you're right. I think that colleges really weigh in this year on what students had to say for themselves. I think it was more about how they talked about who they were, the things they had done, the things that they cared about. Colleges went back to what we used to look at a whole lot, what we call the texture things, the things that you cannot quantify with a number. And colleges went back to doing that this year, which is great. And that means looking at what students did, looking at why they said they did it, what it matters to them. So the students' voice was really big this year. In my few conversations I've had with college admissions people over the early decision, early action this year, they were really listening to the student's voice. They also listen to the counselor's voice. They rely on counselors to give them the information about students, and then the students validate that information by saying the same things that they're concerned about, interested in, and care about. So that picture outside of grades and testing was huge this year for students. They do understand that grades fluctuate. They do understand that kids had a tough time. What they hope and what they look for is how students got through it, what they say, you know, what they said about themselves, what they learned about themselves. Those are such important things that colleges look at in terms of looking at whether kids are ready to move on to college or not. You know, the maturity, you know, the content of their character, things like that matter a great deal this year.
Awesome. That was a lot of really, really helpful information from everyone. Thank you. Okay, we are at 7:39, so we've got just a few more minutes, and then if we can't get to all the questions, we'll follow up with you. Let's see, can a student request a credit to show on the transcript for classes transferred into the high school from another school? No, we have to honor whatever's on that transcript. If a letter grade was given, then we have to put the letter grade on there. If the school gave a credit or a pass, then yes. So it just depends what comes to us from the transcript. Okay, can English and history be taken elsewhere? Generally, no. It's pretty solid principal policy that they have to be taken through the school. All right, what have LAHS counselors learned from this year's college admission process and admissions? I think we just went through that. Key takeaways, learning that will help us prediction for future admission. Anything else to add there?
No, we still haven't got the regular admission decisions yet. So we have a lot more to learn in April of this year in May that we will be able to share with our students in the fall.
Great. Okay, is there a plan for students to go back to campus this year? We don't know yet. We're also waiting. The district is planning for when we're able to return safely, but everyone is still just in a state of waiting. Let's see, a few more. Okay. What is the workload for health? Lots of reading and writing. And is health in summer a fast-paced program compared to health during the school year? Would anybody like to take that?
That would be correct. So in the summer, the health class, it could be pretty because the class it's given in a 2-week format. Normally, students can work through the day in the class, so they don't have like specific hours during to work on the health class. But there is a lot of work, and it's condensed into a 2-week program. So yeah, in the so that would be the answer. So.
Great. Okay, a couple last ones. Does the fall 2019 GPA count as the fall 2019 plus 2020 GPA? I'm not totally sure what that means. Basically, any graded semesters count in the GPA as they always have, and the credit, no credit semester just doesn't affect the GPA. It's just like kind of neutral. All right. If a college describes 4 years of a foreign language as recommended, but a student finishes AP Spanish in junior year, does that count as 4 years? Yes, for language, it goes by the level, not the number of years they're sitting in the classroom. So a student can come into a level 4 class as a 9th grader if they're like a native speaker, and that counts as 4 years, and like that's it. So yes, it goes by level.
Thank you.
All right, we need to wrap up. One last question. I realize that LAHS does not let you take stats and AP Calc BC simultaneously. Can you take it at a community college? Students can take that simultaneously if there is space. They can double enroll in math or science if there is space for all students to have one. And if it works in their schedule, then they're able to do that. If it doesn't work in their schedule or there's a conflict, then they can take it at a community college, yes. Statistics.
But we also want students to have balance. So you want to make sure that you look at the students' workload.
Yeah. All right. We are over on time, so we are going to wrap up for the evening. Thank you all so much for being with us. We hope that this was useful and helpful information. And we really look forward to the day when we can see your students on campus. We hope that will be soon. Please do check out this presentation online. It's going to be, the recording will be posted as well as the slides, so you can access all the links. And also please remember that your students can come and drop in to their counselor's office hours every day of the week during the lunch period, 12:15 to 1, except for asynchronous Wednesdays because we don't have a lunch period. So Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, they drop in. They don't have to let their counselor know they're coming. We are happy to work with them and answer any questions that they have. And they also are more than welcome to contact us by email anytime, as are all of you. So thanks again to all of our panelists tonight and all our parents attending. And we wish you a great Tuesday evening.
Thank you so much and have a nice evening.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.
Thank you.